Tired of feeling tired? Done with diet culture? Overwhelmed by conflicting nutrition and fitness messages? Then join us, your hosts of the Nutrition Revolution podcast, as we take a deep dive into all things women's fitness and nutrition. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Tabitha. And together we are debunking diet culture myths and giving you the tools you need to finally see the results you're looking for.
Today we are going to talk about what will protein do for your body. I know protein is a hot topic right now in the gym world and in the nutrition world. And so we hear a lot of times, is it really the be all end all? Do I really need protein? Do I really have to eat that much protein? So we're going to kind of go over what does protein do for your body? What are the importance of protein? And is it really all it's cracked up to be? Sometimes I see people, and I even thought this myself, is do I really need to be eating as much protein as I'm eating? Does it honestly make a difference? And, there's that, well, it's not what we used to do. My parents didn't eat tons of protein. I didn't start out eating tons of protein. Do I really have to do this? Is it really as crucial to your body as they say? So Tabitha, I kind of want you to talk a little bit about what kinds of things are you seeing, maybe your clients, or even things that you kind of noticed for yourself that has to do with protein, maybe some myths. We talked about, like me and for my clients, like the protein is too much. That's too much protein. We really don't need that much protein. Like, well, I'm just fine eating chicken for dinner or just a little bit of protein for breakfast or whatever, and I'm functioning fine. What kinds of things besides building muscle, besides having the energy for protein to be used in the gym, what kinds of things are you seeing protein being used for, or the crucial things that protein can be used for from your perspective?
Yeah, first of all, full stop, yes, protein is critical. Full
Yes.
stop, mic drop, like end of episode.
Yes, right.
Wait, that's all we need to know.
Bye.
Yeah, you need to eat the protein. Yes, it is that important. Yes, it has always been a diet darling, and it always will be. And yes, it is far more important and goes way beyond just your muscle health and building muscle. So that myth that you said about, like, do I even need that much protein? Like, I didn't eat a lot of it growing up, or like my parents didn't, and like here I am fine.
Right.
Everything's working. That is a myth. We need protein for way more than just, like, you need it, period, but you need it for way more than just building muscles. Protein, I always tell my clients, protein, if your body was a car, because your body is a machine ultimately, but if your body was a car, protein is the structural element. So all the like structural components of that car, that's the protein. Proteins are these, they form the structural support of every cell and all of your bodily tissues, all right? They are also involved in enzymatic activity. So many proteins act as enzymes, and those enzymes are catalysts for chemical reactions within the body that keep your body functioning. For example, with your DNA, proteins are involved in DNA replication. And then also from a digestive, like a nutrition standpoint, amylase is a protein that's involved in breaking down of carbohydrate and starches in your digestive system. So enzyme activity, transport and storage, there are these things called protein transporters, and they take nutrients out of the gut into and out of your cells, and they're protein transporters. So you need those to transport nutrients throughout the body. Also hormone regulation. Some hormones are proteins or peptides, like insulin and glucagon. So those regulate your blood sugar levels. Those are proteins used there. Your immune response, antibodies are proteins. Cell signaling. So there's receptor proteins that are on your cell surfaces, and they bind these molecules like hormones and transmit signals inside the cell. So it's literally like these own little communication nodes within your cells, and they are proteins. The regulation and expression of your genes. And then last but not least, protein is also an energy source for the body, but your body doesn't want to use protein as energy. So as like fuel for working muscles or fuel for your brain, your body wants to spare protein and use it for that structural support and all of those functions that I just listed. However, in the cases of like starvation, or extreme prolonged fasting, intentional food deprivation.
I also see it for endurance athletes.
Yes. Your body will break down protein if you are not properly fueled to meet the demands of your training. So you'll lose muscle because that's where that comes from. So you need protein, not just for your muscle health, but for literally the health of
everything.
Your body.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I have to say. That's the very long answer.
Yes.
To a quick little question. Is protein important? Right. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's super important. And I see a lot of times, so if you're not getting in enough protein, that could look like not being able to lift in the gym, not, being too tired to show up at the gym, being too tired to lift heavier weights, being too tired to move your body, being too tired to just even kind of do those normal day-to-day functions. If you're constantly yawning, or you're constantly feeling like you need to take a nap, or you're feeling like you just don't have the energy, a lot of times let's look at what you're eating. Let's look at your protein intake and see, is there a major lack of protein?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you taking in far too calories and not near enough protein, which for a lot of active women and a lot of the clients that I work with, and when I say active women, I'm meaning like you're intentionally exercising several times a week. You are not getting in enough total calories or protein most of the time. Usually, even for the ones that are taking in enough calories, it's the wrong breakdown of calories. Like they're still not getting enough protein to support the demands of their training so that they can improve their body composition, decrease cravings, feel stronger, feel fuller longer, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, we see that a lot. So I think that, if you have a goal of, even just feeling better, feeling like you have more energy, your strength, protein's the answer. If you have a goal of looking better, that I hate when they say I just want to tone up. Protein is that. You've got to eat the protein to be able to tone up. You've got to eat protein to build muscle is what you actually want to do, is increase your muscle. So I think that protein has such a huge, vast role in our bodies. And so often we look at it as like, I want to increase protein to lose weight. That's not at all the goal, right?
It'll help you with like decreasing your body fat and increasing your lean mass, your muscle, right? So you'll improve your body composition, but improved body composition doesn't translate to less pounds on the scale.
Right.
One of the other myths that kind of like ties in with that is that a lot of women are scared to eat too much protein or enough protein.
They don't want to get bulky.
Yeah, they don't want to get bulky and they think they're going to look like a bodybuilder. And the reality is, the truth to that is, one, women do not have enough testosterone in their body to naturally get big and bulky like a bodybuilder.
Right.
So if you see a female bodybuilder, one, that is like a full-time job.
Oh my gosh,
She's
yes.
having multiple training sessions a day. She is taking a lot of creatine. Most likely she's on some sort of human growth hormone,
fat
anabolic
burners.
steroids. There is a really serious, intense protocol, programming, training that is going on that the average woman is not, one, interested in doing, and two, just not going to be doing. So that is a total myth. For you to get that big, bulky, you have to be doing some real serious stuff that
it's protein
it's like way beyond getting the amount of protein that you need. And then I would say that the last myth that I hear all the time is that your body can only handle like 30 to 40 grams of protein at a time, and then that's it. Like everything else is just wasted.
Yeah.
And that's not true. Well, it's a half truth. So our muscles have a threshold of how much protein they can uptake at one time. And that is, it varies. It depends on like your gender, your age, your training levels, like your body composition. Are you already really muscular, right? There's going to be a little variance, but on average, I would say the average person is probably about 30 grams at one time that your muscles will use. But all of that additional, like, so if you just had a meal of 60 grams of protein, that doesn't mean that half of it is just wasted, and it's not going to use. Like I explained earlier a few minutes ago, all the different roles of proteins in the body. So that remaining protein is going to be used for all of those functions.
Right. So it's not necessarily going to your muscle building and muscle development, but it is going to your hormones and your energy. So it is important to have that much protein.
Yes. So those are probably the biggest myths that I would like to bust.
Right.
And we just did that.
Yeah. So I think that some of the other things that I hear is that there is no way I can get in, so for me, I try for like 150 to 160 grams of protein per day. And when I say that to people, they're like, oh my gosh, I could never do that.
Yeah,
I could never eat that
much.
much protein. It's too much.
It?
And how are you not like a jacked bodybuilder with that much protein? And so for me, it's really kind of looking at, for anyone to start, I'm not going to go from 30 grams of protein a day, which if you look at what the average female is eating, who doesn't care about their nutrition, doesn't pay attention to their nutrition, isn't really kind of working out, just like your average person who wakes up in the morning, eats their food and goes to work and doesn't really think about it that much, they're usually getting between 30 to 45 grams of protein a day. And that's it. So that those are the ones we see have their 3 o'clock sugar crash. They're hungry, they're starving, they're tired, they're coming home completely fatigued. I know this used to be me. I would go teach all day and then come home and I was exhausted and I wasn't eating anything for protein at all until dinner. You probably
weren't eating much of anything at all.
No.
I actually work with quite a few teachers.
Yeah, they don't have the time.
Bless their souls.
I know.
Like they
can't
go
eat,
all
they
day
can't
long
drink because they don't have pee breaks.
And not eat, eat, not drink, and then they hit like 3-4 o'clock and it's like game on, diving face first.
Give me that Snickers bar.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Work with them on finding like an easier, realistic approach to getting fuel in. But it's amazing as they start doing that and they prioritize the protein. They're like, I have more energy during the day for my students.
I can move with my kids.
When I get off work at the end of a long school day, like I actually have something left in the tank for whatever else I need. But
so just... I think that people think that it's too much or it's too hard to get in protein. But when we actually look at the foods that contain protein, so, if you're just eating one egg for breakfast, that's 12 grams, 7 grams protein, depending if you get those extra large eggs, right? That's not enough protein to start your day.
No, you need like 3 eggs.
3 eggs and a couple pieces of turkey bacon. You're good. You can go function and you've got your 30 to 40 grams of protein. Lunches. Having a salad with a little bit of chicken is not cutting it. You have to pay attention to getting a good full size. Is it the size of your palm? That's enough chicken, but if it's just like 2 little strips, like you get those salads from Chick-fil-A and it's like a couple little pieces of chicken on top.
Couple nuggets chopped up.
Right. I try to order the salad plus an extra thing of chicken so that I'm dumping more protein on there. Just that small little change is making that salad go from, 12 grams of protein to 30 grams of protein.
And to that point of like getting extra chicken on your salad, you can always ask for extra portion of the protein or go for the larger portion. Like I'm a really big fan of Texas Roadhouse because of the rolls. And when I go though, I always get their Dallas filet, but I get the 8 ounce. And so many times I've been with people and they're like, oh my gosh, there's no way you're going to eat that big old steak. And I'm like, watch me. Watch me. And what I do is I'll order like that 8 ounce steak. I get like my loaded baked potato and some broccoli or a salad usually is what I do. And I make sure that I eat that steak first. Like of all the things on my plate, the steak is going to be the one that does not get taken home. So if I eat all that steak and I'm only hungry for a couple bright bites of broccoli and baked potato, then that'll get taken home or that'll be what doesn't get finished, right? So I'm making sure that I'm getting in all of that protein. And those are just easy ways to get in more easily for each meal. So that way you don't feel like you need all these protein shakes and eating all these meals all the time. It's realistic. And in that steak, I'm getting at least 50 grams of protein. And if your goal is 150 for the day, in one meal, boom, you're a third of the way there.
Right. I think too, it's just that being mindful. I know when I work with a client and they come to me and they say, I know I'm not getting in the foods that I need. Can you help me? It's always, before we do anything, it's track for me, even just to send me a picture of the foods that you're eating or take notes of the foods that you're eating. Or if you are okay with tracking your food, track your food and let me just see what you're eating on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's data that you can measure. So there's a lot of value to that.
Just seeing, like, do you even know where you're eating? Half the time they don't. And so when they see
like,
the results.
I eat protein. And I'm like, really? Your average intake from this food diary is like 45 grams a day.
Yeah. And so
it's not getting it done.
It's shocking. I think it's eye-opening for them that they don't get in protein, even though they feel like they maybe do because they have protein for one meal a day. So getting in that protein, or just like seeing if you even are getting the protein is the first step for me with my clients. And then the second step is let's increase your protein a little bit for each meal and start, just adding in those. So for me, it's, any meal, I don't really care. Do you have a specific, do you tell your clients specifically where to add it?
Yes. I mean, each of them get a custom protein goal and a range too, because sometimes we get so fixated on if your goal is 150 and it's if you got 140, you feel like a failure. And I'm like, no. 125 to 150 is your range. Right. That way it kind of sets you up for success.
Yeah.
But I am a really big proponent in evidence-based nutrition for women that we need to start with at least 20 to 30 grams of protein for that first meal of the day.
Right.
And a lot of women that I work with start their day with a cup of coffee and a muffin or just a cup of coffee.
Just caffeine.
Or they'll be like, well, I put collagen in it. And it's okay, well, that's a whole nother podcast episode, but collagen is
not
it's
a
great
complete
and
protein.
You need it, but it's not a complete protein, and it's not used for what other amino acids are in the body. So starting with breakfast is making that day one, eating the elephant one bite at a time. We're going to look at breakfast and make that more protein rich in general. And I do feel 99.9% of my clients after 2 weeks, they're I have so much more energy. I feel better. I'm not getting the afternoon slump that I used to. Yeah. And it's
cravings are down.
Yeah, my cravings have drastically decreased.
Sleep is better.
Just by getting, it's not they're overdosing on protein. They're actually just eating what is an appropriate amount for their body and for their activity levels and their goals. And that's the one thing that I want to differentiate with us talking about the necessity of protein and how most women aren't getting enough. We're not talking about eating bodybuilder levels of protein. We're talking about getting enough protein for you.
Just for your daily function.
Yes. For your activity levels, your goals, what your body needs. And most women are not getting anywhere near enough. Now, I will say, I think that ties into the next piece here of what exactly, how much should I be eating? What are the recommendations? And this is the part that's really frustrating for me as a coach and as a nutritionist, because the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and they put out all of the nutritional guidelines for Americans and the recommendations. And right now, the current recommendations for a woman are 0.8 grams per 1 kilogram of body weight. And for those of us that are American, you're what is a kilogram? I'm going to convert that.
Someone please do math for me.
Yeah. So 1 kilogram is about 2.2 pounds. So that breaks down to the recommendations about 0.36 grams per 1 pound of body weight. So if you're a 150-pound woman, they're sitting here telling you that you need about 54 grams of protein.
So low.
And that's not it. And the part that is most frustrating for me is that these recommendations, this data is based off of sedentary male data. And last time I checked, I have not ever been nor ever will be a sedentary man.
Right.
So can we do better?
I think it's that myth of women are just small men.
Yeah.
And we are not.
We're not.
We never have been.
Never have
so
been,
many different
never
changes.
will be. And we
just
deserve
our hormones
so much better.
Alone need more than that.
So call to action for Anne.
Yes,
let's
please.
do better.
Yes, please.
We need that. But I will say they do increase. They give a little bit of a range here. So if you are an active woman, they up it to about 0.7 grams per pound. Which again, if you're a 150-pound woman, you're looking anywhere from 80 to 109-ish grams. And it's still really not enough.
No.
Not enough at all.
You're still going to find yourself getting fatigued in the gym. Yeah. If you're going through hormone changes, menopause, cycles, you're going to find
nursing, so many seasons of life where that's not sufficient for women, and it's not enough. So what would you recommend to our listeners?
Yeah. So I personally try to do 1 gram per pound. So for me, I'm trying to get in 150 grams of protein a day. And usually with clients, I tell them start with 30 grams of protein per meal, and any snacks that you eat, those should be protein focused snacks. So if you are a bag of chips is not a snack for me and my clients. A bag of chips with a chomp stick is better.
And a string cheese.
Right.
Or
something.
something.
So every time
Tuna
I
to go
tell them,
pack.
anytime you're eating food or making a choice about eating food, protein should be your focus. And so I don't consider a complete meal unless there's 30 grams of protein.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah. My approach is very similar. I say 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight, because some of my clients do have a weight loss goal that is necessary. And so, let's just say they're sitting at like 175, but that's not their ideal. I'm not going to necessarily say 175 grams. We're going to look at, that's where it has to be really individualized.
Right. Yeah. If you're sitting at like 250 pounds, you don't have to eat 250 pounds of protein. But if you're sitting at 250 pounds and you have a 40-pound weight loss goal.
Yeah, you would adjust it to be around there. And same thing, I say your meals should be probably at least 30 grams of protein, and then snacks anywhere from an additional 10 to 20, depending on what your meal looked like. But that is the piece where tracking your protein so you can be aware becomes really critical. Because you can't measure what you're not tracking.
Right. And then you don't know. Yeah, you have to know. So
I also I'm really big. My 2 things, the foundational principles are plants, the 2 P's. If you follow me on social media, you know this: protein and then plants.
Right.
And that's what we're building our meals around. But protein is the queen.
Which eventually equates to protein and fiber.
Yes, that is
function of your body, all of it.
What that goes to.
Yeah. So I think that, when you actually look at protein, it can be challenging to get in that much protein if you aren't currently paying attention. But once you start paying attention, you kind of get the idea that like a palm size piece of chicken is about 34 grams of protein. 3 eggs, you're going to get in about almost 30 grams of protein. You've got to build on that and kind of get in the general idea of what does protein look like. I give my clients like a protein cheat sheet they can actually print out and stick on their fridge that helps them keep that protein focus throughout the day. So when they're getting into their fridge to build their lunches or pack meals or cook whatever, they can think, okay, protein first. What can I do to add in the protein here? So
which I love that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I think
very helpful
for anyone starting out, we don't want them to go from 100 or from 30 grams of protein to like 150 grams of protein. They have to build up to it.
Very uncomfortable.
Right. You're going to feel bloated and gross. I guarantee if you just try to like get it all in at once. So give yourself some grace, figure out like, where am I starting? What do I do now? And then how can I increase that and go, build up in the future?
Yes. And so take it 1 meal at a time.
Right.
Like your next meal is your next choice.
Right.
And this meal, we're going to make protein a priority when maybe it hasn't been before.
Right.
Versus, okay, Kimberly and Tabitha said that I have to get X amount of grams. And if I don't, I'm a failure. No, you're not. Like take a deep breath, take a step back, just prioritize the protein to start at each meal and every snack.
Yeah. And stop looking at it as weight loss and start looking at it as my body needs this to function on all levels.
Yeah. Your health, overall health and well-being.
Yeah. So let's kind of recap this. We threw out some myths, right? Like my parents didn't eat protein. Why do I have to?
Protein will make you jacked and swole like a bodybuilder. No, it will not.
Yeah.
You can only handle so much protein at a time. Half truth. Your muscles can, but your body uses the rest of that good stuff.
Right. Protein does more than just help you lose weight and build muscle. Right.
Yeah.
It literally makes your entire body function properly.
And to that point too, like I think I said this. So if I'm saying it again, I'm sorry, but it's really important. Okay. Protein in and of itself is not a weight loss tool.
Right.
Protein is a body composition tool and a health tool. Okay.
Yeah. And then, how much protein should we be eating a day? I think that kind of depends on, I hate that. It kind of depends. It really does kind of depend on.
We're all so different.
Yeah. Where are you on your cycle? Where are you in your menopause phase?
Season of life?
Where are you, family planning? Are you working out a lot? Are you bodybuilding? Are you powerlifting? What kind of workouts are you doing? So that's where you kind of want to work with a coach or with some really good research, and kind of listen to your body and feel for yourself what feels good. Pay attention to your energy, your sleep, your overall brain function. If you're, not remembering things, you just feel cognitively drained, you probably want to increase your protein. And then how do you increase that protein day to day? I think Tabitha's advice of just starting at breakfast and adding 25, 30 grams of protein is a really great start.
Yeah. And that can look like a couple eggs and whole grain toast with nut butter, smoothies that you throw your protein powder in, overnight oats, chia puddings and chia bowls. Right. And even for those of you that are like have allergies or don't love traditional breakfast foods, breakfast doesn't have to be eaten. Like you can eat, I guess what I should say is you can eat non-breakfast foods for breakfast. Like you're actually allowed to do that.
I know.
A chicken veggie stir fry or, a burrito.
Yeah. People always make fun of me because I do have gluten allergies and dairy allergies. And so I do a lot of chicken salad for breakfast in the summer. I'm like chicken salad and some like Simple Mills crackers is fine for me. And my kids eat the same way. I think my daughter had leftover Mission Barbecue brisket this morning for breakfast.
That sounds amazing.
But I don't look at it as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And this is off topic, but it's meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, meal 4, however many meals you want. And so not being afraid to kind of break those boundaries to hit your goals. And then I think, we kind of scratched the surface on protein sources, but I think we'll save that for like another a part episode, 2 to kind of go into, should we be having protein shakes? Should we be having protein bars? I think we'll save that for a part 2. So
you're going to have to come back and listen to us some more.
I think so. So that's our quick little intro to protein, I guess, a little recap on what protein is and how it can help you function, and come back for part 2 on protein.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks for spending your time with us. If you found this podcast helpful, we would love for you to share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform. If you have nutrition or fitness questions you want answered on future episodes, we would love to hear from you. You can submit these questions to our email, thenutritionrevolutionpodcast@gmail.com, and follow us on Instagram @thenutritionrevolutionpodcast.